communities, helping clients to build multi-generational wealth through real estate.
So as a decision coach, you are helping people not only to be a better communicator, but also learning how to heal, going through their inner conflict, inner activism, that they can feel who they truly are and whatever happened in the past is in the past and what they can do to move forward and bring some peace and grace in their life.
Absolutely. So Mitra, if you'll indulge me, just to say, what is a decision coach? Because some people might be going, what is a decision coach? Never heard of it before. So I don't call myself a divorce coach, because very often people think about divorce coaches. It's sort of, it's almost like a life coach helping you through divorce. So I'm not a life coach. I'm not helping you through divorce, finding who you are so you can move on in life. Yes, what I'm going to do is going to help you, but that's not my job. What a decision coach is, and I took it from actually the medical industry. So very often when people are very, very ill and they have to go through a cancer or something very serious, what the hospital does is they provide them with a decision coach. And what the decision coach does is they take all the modalities and all the things that they're going to have to go through for this big process, and they unpack everything for them. They say, here's all the information. I'm going to unpack it with you. I'm going to explain it to you. So when you have to make a decision about what your process is going to be medically, you actually understand everything. You're not overwhelmed. So I thought, well, isn't that what I can do in separation? So what I do is I help my clients through their overwhelm. So I say, you have to make a decision. This is all the information. This is probably what your lawyer is going to tell you. This is probably what the opposing counsel is going to tell you. This is what the mediator might be telling you. These are all the decisions that you have to have. They are fraught with emotion. And what I do is I unpack the decisions for them. I explain the information to them. I explain all the perspectives where everybody might be coming from, because remember, I was a lawyer as well. So I see both sides. And then what I do is I don't make decisions for anybody, but I help people make a decision. And so what I help people do is also bring the emotional separation to me. Don't take it to your lawyer. Your lawyer doesn't want to deal with the emotional separation. So let me deal with it. You tell me what you're feeling. You tell me how frustrated, how many times he did this or how many times she did that. I unpack it, then I say, okay, this is how you're going to instruct your lawyer. And so why it's helpful is because you're actually giving your lawyer very clear, concise instructions that comes from a place of really understanding the information. And with that, your lawyer can then follow your instructions and not have to wait and try unpack the emotions that they don't really care about. Their job is to deal with the legal separation. And very, very often family lawyers, they do have compassion, but you're paying them an hourly rate for them to give you that compassion. So rather work with me. I'll unpack. I'll say, I know how you're feeling. This is how this emotion is impacting your decision. Let's unpack that. Let's deal with that. And then you can make a decision where you've actually brought perspective and objectivity into the arena.
So you present them with an array of options, right, as you see them, and you probably, before presenting them with the potential set of solutions, you have extended conversations with people. What a lot of people don't understand is that decisions have a particular shelf life. They have an expiry date. If they're not made within a certain time period, it really doesn't matter anymore. They're gone. Like, it doesn't matter what you decide. Is that a part of the process? You're saying you cannot make decisions for your clients. Obviously, you cannot do that. But are you there to encourage them to actually make a decision? Because you're telling them, hey, if this is not done by such and such a date, and after that, meaning that you have to do something. You have to do something with the set of options that I've given you. Is that a part of the process as well?
Absolutely. So, very often in the court, not the court process, the legal process, you'll get a correspondence from the other side that says you need to respond to this by X date. That is very overwhelming for people. So what I would do is say, okay, you've got until Thursday to make a decision. Let's go through everything. Let's see what they're saying in this letter. Let's see what your priorities are. And if it's just too difficult for you to say, I'm so overwhelmed, I cannot do that. I cannot make a decision. I really have to think about it. Is then to say, this is what you're going to tell your lawyer. to respond to say, my client understands the severity and the importance of this. Can we please just respond by X amount of time? So that I'm helping them gain a bit of control over the situation. But if they're they're stalling because that's their tactic, it's for me to say, not right, not on. Let's deal with this properly. So sometimes I'm also putting them in their place and saying, we're not playing games, because if you play games, then don't get upset when the other side is playing games. So definitely I help them with that. But then I also tell them, at the very, very beginning, when you get a lawyer, is to give your lawyer your expectations and what your triggers are. So to even say to your lawyer, I don't work well with deadlines. If something, you're giving me only 48 hours to respond, understand I'm going to get overwhelmed. Please, can you convey that to the other side so that everybody understands how everyone reacts and responds during conflict?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Another thing, I'm curious, as a lawyer, how do you stay impartial? Because you seem to be taking the approach with every client that you're actually involved in their affairs emotionally. At least to the extent that you're very empathetic to what they're going through. Does it affect your personal life in any way? And how do you protect your clients professionally in the best possible way while you're emotionally involved in their plight? So that's another thing that you kind of, have to consciously try and separate all the time.
So I never get involved emotionally in my clients' issues. First of all, as a lawyer, I always know that, but it's not my story. It's your story. I'm not going to get emotionally invested in your story because I can't make those decisions for you. And I do not make decisions for my clients. I say, these are the options. Let's see which is the best one for you. But what I say to my clients, and when I mediate, what I say to them is, I'm not neutral, because neutral means I don't really care one way or the other. It's up to you. I say to my clients, I'm polypartial. What that means is I am actually partial to everything that everyone is saying. Everything is important. So even if, let's say, Vlad, you coming to me because you're going through separation and it's just you can't deal with your spouse, I'm interested in what your spouse has to say as well, because I have the ability to say, Vlad, have you considered your wife is feeling this? Have you considered that what you said may have triggered them to say that? And so what I'm doing is I'm saying everyone's opinion and feelings are important here. And I'm also going to put a lens to my clients that maybe they didn't consider. And when sometimes they can see something through the lens of the other person, they might be open to negotiating or having a conversation or listening to their opinion. So it's very important for me to try and understand where the other side is coming from. I'm not just, I would be doing my clients a disservice if I was just their cheerleader. This is important to the entire family. If you've got kids, what their dad says or what their mom says is just as important to them. You might not care. You might think they're just doing it to aggravate me. They know. Your kids don't know. Your kids love their mom and dad equally, and they shouldn't be asked to take sides or make decisions. So it's very important for me. So that's why it doesn't affect me emotionally, because I'm at a very privileged advantage that I can objectively look down, because your problem, I'll still sleep at night. Your problem's not my problem, but I can look down at it and go, oh, okay, there are lots of perspectives here that maybe we're not understanding.
Yeah, another thing I'm curious, and maybe this is like slightly outside of the precise path of this conversation, but if I remember the statistics correctly, 3 people out of 100 are sociopaths. And if you happen to represent a client that's a sociopath, how do you determine that? And once you made an internal decision, oh yeah, this is the case, how do you deal with it? That's number one. Number two, your client comes in and says, I'm good, but my partner is all over the place and they're definitely a sociopath. How do you deal with that as well? Like, do you make those types of decisions?
Yeah.
Do you correct your behavior?
85% of the files I would deal with was my partner's crazy. Okay? Always. It's always, they're crazy. Okay? And they've told their lawyer the same thing. My partner's crazy. Okay? So as lawyers, we know. And so very often, unless it's been diagnosed, it's just what you think about your partner. If it's diagnosed, then it's an issue. But very often, maybe you think they're a sociopath because they're not understanding your trauma. They're not understanding how you're feeling. You think that they're out to get you. You make it so personal. And yes, it is personal. But most times they're dealing with their own story. They're not thinking about how you're thinking. They're thinking about what you've said, how it's impacted them. But there is something that I really do, and I want to thank you so much for raising that, is dealing with a narcissist is very, very difficult. And particularly for a lawyer, because when your client happens to be the narcissist, they've charmed you and made you believe them because they're very good at doing that. So by the time you've realized, oh, whoa, hang on a second, my client's the problem's client, it's very hard for the lawyer to get out because they've believed their client so much. So when you're dealing with the narcissist, and I don't know how it happened, but most of the clients that I deal with in divorce coaching actually happen to be people who have their partners are narcissists. And so for me, it's really deprogramming and teaching them a new way of communicating and making them understand the mind of a narcissist. So I can't really say sociopath. I don't know enough about sociopaths to, make a determination of anything. But I do know how the mind of a narcissist works. And then even helping them, if it really is a narcissist, and not just, most people think my spouse is a narcissist. Everyone comes in with that. That's the first thing lawyers will hear about the other side. But when you are able to say, yes, like I can tell you, and I would be able to know, listening to what you're telling me, whether you're dealing with a narcissist or not, is how you can instruct your lawyer to deal with the lawyer on the other side who may have their client as a narcissist. So that's also how I'm able to help people.
Gotcha.
So what I'm hearing, you literally creating clarity for your clients to make a decision. And the fact that you are not emotionally involved in their journey, you can really see the big picture, what's happening, and being partial, looking at the story of everybody within that circle. In the family, it could be the husband, wife, children, or anybody else involved. You can literally look at the big picture and see what are the things that you might not see. And then by gathering those information, you help them to make the right decision along the way.
Absolutely. And very often, like very simple strategies that I give my clients. Like the one is I use the HALT approach. So when they get a text message or an email or a telephone call or a letter or whatever it is, and they want to respond straight away, I teach them the HALT approach. And the HALT approach is, am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? And if they can just, before they respond to anything, say to themselves, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And if they can identify that they're any of those four things, HALT, any of those four things, stop, deal with that, and then respond. Simple techniques.
I guess especially important with male clients. When they're hungry, the thinking is all skewed.
Yeah. And angry, hangry. So when you're hungry and angry, it's a bad combination.
You're right.
Yeah.
So beside decision coach, is there anything else you do, Nicolle?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do lots of things. So the decision coach is one aspect that I do. I'm also a certified mindfulness instructor, meditation coach, and Reiki master. But one of my big passions, and one of the reasons that I actually left the practice of law, is because I want to advocate for changing the legal narrative, bringing correct communication into the law, and really advocating for mental wellness within the law. And so my tagline now is, I believe in a world where kindness and compassion are greater than fear and hatred. And if we can all live in that world, then conflict is going to be resolved compassionately and kindly. And that for me is my biggest mission now, is advocating for mental wellness and kindness in the legal profession.
Thank you, Nicolle, for bringing such a beautiful, holistic perspective to relationship, actually.
Thank you. Thank both of you for this beautiful conversation.
More often here talking about different topics that could be of interest to our clients, to mutual clients. And is there anything else that you want to add on today?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and it would be a pleasure to talk to you again. I think the main thing is all the answers to any of life's questions are within you. You just have to be quiet, and you have to just think about it in silence. And our wisdom and our intuition speaks very softly. It doesn't fight with the ego. The ego is loud and the stories, and it wants an audience. But our wisdom is very quiet. And it will say, when you're ready to be quiet and come within to listen to me, I have the answers. But if you want to have a conversation with the ego, be my guest. So it's through this inner activism really, really important, because we are enough. And all our answers lie inside of us if we can just turn off the noise. And that, for me, I think is the biggest lesson and piece of advice that I'd like to share.
Thank you, Nicolle.
Purple Tree Group, connecting people, building communities, helping clients to build multi-generational wealth through real estate.